been wanting to give this talk for a while now after an exchange at a meeting several meetings back. At that time, Brian Treadwell, who was working as a volunteer for the ARRL Bureau at the time, brought me some cards, and some of the newer members of the club looked at them and said, "What are those?" And since I learned about QSL cards in 1962, it's kind of easy for me to forget that not everybody understands QSLing. So today I'm going to give you some of the basics, but I'm also going to cover modern ways of QSLing and a little bit on keeping track of your QSLs. So QSLing is a written or electronic confirmation of a ham radio contact that comes from the other party. It used to all be paper cards, and Ron just gave me his because I worked him this week when I heard him on. But now there are a couple of electronic systems that have most of the mind share plus a number of others that you could enter your contacts in. I'll talk about all of those. Okay, so why do we do this? Well, two reasons. One is for the souvenir value. And Ron, do you want to hold up your book and tell us 2 minutes about this?
Guys, I have 5 DXCCs from the 5 countries that I hammed, and I take QSLing super serious. This is my license from India, and in the book, in order, is every single card. And this is probably worth over $1,000 in postage, if you look at it. Plus lots of time.
Including the postage you send out to get those?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. Green stamps, etc.
Oh, really?
But like I said, if there's a fire in my house, I'll get these 5 books, and then I'll go up and get my wife. Okay. I have one for each country, and then I have 328 confirmed for the United States. So I'm just starting that book now.
How many cards do you have?
What's that?
How many cards do you have total?
Oh, total? Oh my God, the shoebox is full. But the award, anything that has an award, I have a binder on. I'm like Ray, we like binders. I have worked all Japan. I don't have worked all states, guys. I got worked all Japan, which is 47 prefixtures, worked all zones, and then 5 DXCCs. So, thank you, Doug.
When you say
Anybody
you
wants to
have
see?
them in order,
Yes,
when you say you have them in order, do you mean order by call sign, by
Yes.
the date of receipt?
from A, which is Oman, all the way down to Z, or numbered. Matter of fact, I can tell you, it's from,
Is that Ipsidig order?
yes, Alpha 71, which is Qatar, and then we go all the way through the numbers to Z through the numbers, and I ended up with 9 Yankee, which is Trinidad. And they're all in
So they're not-
order of DXCC, and in those days, you had to fill out a form to get your DXCC. You've probably seen that, Doug.
Yep.
And this is all nice and neatly typed when I went
Have you
through.
digitized it in case there's an explosion?
You betcha. Anyway, guys,
Do you
that's
still
what I
get
have.
cards, or are they?
What's that?
Do you still get cards, or are they in the past? Can one still get?
You
cards?
Yes,
betcha.
yes.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, and I'll cover that in a minute. But
Okay.
you can see how much we enjoy these physical cards. And also they're what you need, or an electronic version thereof if you want to get the ARRL awards. The most common ones are the DX Century Club, which is 100 entities. That's countries plus geographically discontiguous entities. So for the US, there's the 48 states, and Alaska and Hawaii count separately, and so on. Kaliningrad, which is a discontinuous piece of Russia, counts separately. A lot of the islands in the Caribbean count separately as well. So there are a lot of entities close to us. And the WAS, the Worked All States Award. Okay, so let's talk about the paper cards. So how do you get paper cards? One way is to exchange them directly through the mail. And if you want to do that, there are a few things you should know. First of all, it is customary for the US station to send something to the DX station to cover his postage. So $2, $3, it doesn't hurt to put in another dollar or so. He's got some other expenses. And you need to be very careful about a couple of things. First of all, what I say up here. Go to qrz.com or one of the competitors if you prefer. Look up that station, because on his page, he may say he doesn't send paper cards at all. He wants your card to go to somebody else who manages cards for him. He only will take cards to the Bureau, or he won't take cards to the Bureau, and we'll talk about the Bureau in a moment. Maybe he needs more than $2. So you can't get to the US from Peru, Australia. Those are a couple that I've come across. And he may be asking for green stamps. Green stamps are US $1 bills. So
Chris.
that's the code.
Not the old S&H ones.
Nope. Nowadays, many de-expeditions and some individuals have online ways of getting the postage money to them. And that's in part because of this next point, that in many countries, postal employees will steal things from the mail. So you need to protect against that. The best way, of course, is to use any online system, you know, if it exists.
If your correspondent can use it also. Is there a problem with other countries having access to PayPal or whatever?
I don't know if every country has it, but there are lots of foreign countries that, you know, have amateurs taking, you know, their postage money through PayPal at this point, or other online systems. If you see a reference to OQRS on a website, online QSL request system, then that's some kind of electronic payment system, which typically takes your information and then probably redirects you to PayPal in the end for the payment. Here's what I send. I send a regular envelope, and inside it is my return envelope. It's flat, so the envelope does not look unusual. I never put a call sign or any indication at all of amateur radio on the outside. I'm going to put my $2 or $3 in here, you know, with my QSL card. And then seal this, and then I'm going to run Scotch tape across here, right, to try to minimize the possibility of theft. I'll pass around a couple of these.
So you glue it and tape it?
So I seal the envelope with the glue, and then I tape across there.
Do you tape around or only the flap?
Well, I just do the flaps. Some people do the sides too. I don't know. What do you do, Ron? You
Same as you.
okay?
I always run the tape across, but keep your call sign, any call signs of amateur radio off that envelope, because that's theft overseas. So see that, ooh, there's money in there, in their pocket.
Okay. The other way to exchange paper cards is through the ARRL Bureau, and there are partner organizations in many countries that accept this. You have to be an ARRL member to do this, and you've got to set yourself up with the Bureau by sending them an envelope and postage for them to send your cards to you. Okay. You sort your outgoing cards and call sign only, order numbers first, and what you can do, if Terry is here and you're a club member, is you just walk over and hand your outgoing cards to Terry. By the way, he needs proof of your ARRL membership, so you make a scan of the membership card they send you or a recent issue of QST. That's proof.
That's it.
Just more out now this
All right.
time, Terry.
You
Thank you.
got it.
Also, if the individual is using a QSL manager, you need to make sure that that call sign is prominently displayed. If you look at the back of my QSL card, it has a VIA box at the top where you can put that, and as well as the call sign of the destination station.
Now that can be small print, so it's not visible from outside the envelopes?
Well,
No, it's in
the,
the card.
you know, it's double enveloped, so you know, it's not that hard. You could also use safety envelopes. That's probably a better idea than the plain envelope I passed around. Okay, so I mentioned this, that online ordering is another way to get paper cards if the partner offers it. Many DXpeditions do. Check their call sign on qrz.com. Also, if you encounter a station that has a QSL manager, go to the QSL manager site, and he may say, you know, he handles cards in various ways, and there might be an online ordering option with him. Okay, so that's paper cards. Let's talk about the two electronic systems that have the greatest mind share. The first one I'll talk about is ARRL's Logbook of the World. And as I mentioned, those confirmations are good for ARRL awards. You can upload your contacts for free, so it doesn't cost you anything to get into Logbook of the World. They make their money by charging you when you apply the contacts for awards. And as you can imagine, there are lots of different awards that you can apply for. There's a one-time setup process with several steps. You can go to the website and see that, but it involves they're sending a postcard to your FCC registered address, and it has a password, and then you set up from there. You have to download their software in order to upload your contacts. All right, so that means that you tend to batch your contacts and then invoke their software. Your logging program may help. My logging program has a single button that automatically creates the file of contacts in the format that the ARRL wants and invokes their software and sends it along on its way. But because of this batch nature, you'll find that sometimes, you know, it's a while before you get your Logbook of the World confirmation to show up. You can easily look at your QSOs that you've uploaded. You can see which of them are confirmed. You can see what's confirmed for award points. This is one of the displays. This shows my recent confirmations, and it's paged, you know, so this is just a page of them from a little while ago. And the ones that have the check marks over in this column were new band mode combinations and therefore good for certain award points. And you can also see your progress, you know, to the ARRL awards. And there are several other pages that you can look at, but these are kind of the ones that I look at the most. Okay, so that's Logbook of the World, and I also want to talk about EQSL.cc, which is the other one that has a lot of mind share in the amateur community. It's free registration, free uploads. They do have some premium services that you can pay for, and that's where they make their money. One of the ones that I like is that they show a map that connects the 2 points on the map for all the contacts that have been reported in the last so many minutes. So you can just take a glance at that and get a visual impression of what's going on. A little while ago, I happened to wake up pretty early in the morning, and I went downstairs and I looked at that map and saw a station in Hawaii was on, working folks not too far from me. So I said, hey, I'll give it a try, got on, and worked Hawaii on a new band. So it's good for kind of giving you a feel of what the activity is. The EQSL confirmations are okay for CQ Magazine awards, and they also have their own set of awards. It's not very easy to use them for an ARRL award. The ARRL policy is if you printed it off your printer, you can't just take that and hand it to a card checker. Now, in theory, you could take that, send it to the other guy, get him to sign it, and send it back, and then it would be valid, but I don't know if that happens very often. The one thing to know about EQSL is there's a second step, and there's sort of two classes of membership in EQSL, and you want to get yourself authenticity guaranteed. And for US hams, that just involves getting a scan of your license and, you know, emailing that to them, and then they give you that status. Something that's nice is that you can send a card image. So if your goal is to have something to put on the wall, which is what I do with many of my cards, you can get that. Also, the upload process is very easy, and you can, in many cases, build it into your software. So some of the software I use is set up so as soon as I push the log it button, it goes not only to my own log, but also up to EQSL. And often, right after a contact, I can look on EQSL and see that confirmation. And it has an inbox that looks like this. And if you press the left button that says display, it'll bring up a card image that here's the one that I got. But as I said, you can't use that for ARRL awards unless you go through the process I described. But it's nice to get the, you know, the image right away. Okay. The other thing I wanted to say before we go to questions is, you know, if you're interested in awards in particular, or if you just want to keep track of your QSLs, I would recommend that you use logging software that does that. There are several that folks like. I use DX Keeper, which is part of the DX Lab suite. I'll show you a screen from it in a moment, but it, for any given contact, it lets you tell it, you know, if you've sent a paper QSL, and if you let it do your Logbook of the World QSLs, it remembers that it did that. And there's another button to download from Logbook of the World and find out what's been confirmed, and you get, you know, the dates when those things occurred, and does the same thing with EQSL.cc. And there are other interesting things in the DX Lab suite, you know, too long a story to, you know, do in the remaining 10 minutes, but one of the things is a piece of software called Spot Collector, and it will go to various sites for people to report who's on the air, and it will actually take those from several sites, consolidate them, bounce them against the log, and then send you some kind of alert, which could be an email, for example, if it sees somebody you need on the air that's been spotted. So, you know, interesting piece of software. Also, the price is right, it's free. And it's very actively upgraded. I see updates all the time. A lot of people must be putting a lot of hours in this. Beautiful product, but not the only one out there.
What OS does it run on?
Everything but yours.
Likely.
That may be the case. I don't think that it's limited to Windows, but you'd have to check the site. I don't know offhand. And this is what DX Keeper looks like. This is kind of the main window. And let's see. Oops, let's go back. Up here are the details of the contact. So the call, the mode, the signal reports that were sent, that sort of thing. This is the paper QSL area, and it tells the status. In this particular case, this is saying that I did send a card and asked for a response. I sent it directly, and as of the time I did the screenshot, I didn't have a paper card back from him. I did have an EQSL response, and I was still awaiting a Logbook of the World response. And it generates all kinds of reports. You can look at your award progress, those reports of that. You can look at you know, who you need, who hasn't QSL'd, just Oh, and also, something that's really, really nice is if you maybe are working a DXpedition and you work him 5 times or 3 times, it will put together a label that has all the contacts, so you can send one card with all the contacts on it. Or if you have a lot of cards to do, getting those put on labels rather than filling them out by hand is nice. And it does those kinds of things as well. Let's see, there are some resources. The one that I haven't mentioned here is this one. Whenever I want something, one of the things I think about doing is going to eham.net and looking for reviews of that. So if I'm looking for a QSL card printer, or the little envelopes that fit inside here, or something like that, eham.net probably knows who sells something like that. Okay, I'm now ready for any questions in the last few minutes. Terry?
I have one comment that on mailing out these QSL cards, when you insert your envelope in there, you want to stick the envelope, your receipt envelope, down in the envelope, because if they stick a knife under the flap on your sending envelope, they can pick up both of them, and all of a sudden the guy will have to reattach the flap of the envelope back to you. So it's just a common sense thing, but
Excellent.
it helps.
Great point, thank
Might be
you.
a good idea to turn it upside down, because when it's going through the mail, it can get tapped and it'll slide right up to the top.
That's what I'm saying, if you turn it
upside
stick
down.
it this way
Yeah.
down, then there's no way that the knife can get under it,
Excellent.
cut the second flap off.
Okay. Yeah, Bill.
Are the QSL cards standard size?
Most QSL cards are the same size, but not all of them.
So
So-
does Avery Forms have a,
To a cell phone
Good,
template.
good question. I don't know that Avery has a QSL size stock, but you can get QSL size stock for printing.
oh,
And
okay.
take a look on eham.net, you'll probably find somebody who sells that.
Plum up in New Jersey sells them, the same guy that sells all the envelope stock, sells the international, airmail envelopes, he sells those card stock. That are, you just stick them in your printer and it'll print 6 QSL cards on one of those, one sheet.
Yeah, that's another good thing Terry brings up about airmail. You're overseas, a lot of countries don't have, everything we do in this country, if we send something overseas is airmail. Nothing goes out by ship anymore. So your return envelope might have to be an airmail envelope. I mean, an honest-to-God airmail, par avion envelope. And you can get those at the site Terry was just talking about. So make sure when you QSL. Very good point.
Okay, good points.
How do you order the cards?
Sorry,
How do you order the cards?
QSL cards?
Yes.
Pretty standard.
A lot of the suppliers have websites where you can go and look at alternative designs, and then I would suggest doing something. This is a picture that either I or my wife took, I've forgotten, but nobody else in the world has a card just like this. And I prefer something like that over, a stock image that you might get. And you can upload your image and maybe get a preview of what your card will look like. And then they will send you some kind of a proof, maybe electronically or maybe some other way, of the cards, and then you can okay that or make any changes that you need to before they do the run. Cards have a fairly high setup cost and a low marginal cost, so your cost per unit will go down if you order a bunch. So figure order of $100 for 1,000 cards is for cards, like mine with a nice picture on them and so on. Yeah.
And you can, there are sites online where you can you can print them for free. They aren't like this, they aren't nice and they aren't very pretty, but you can get a card going.
Actually, the DX Keeper software also will do that. You know, it will let you design a card and, you know, print your own cards. Haven't used that feature, but it's available.